I stepped into his house. I still regret it. When people say, trust your gut, they say it like it's this cute little slogan. Something you'd see stitched on a pillow or scribbled into a wellness journal. But no one ever tells you what it feels like when your gut is screaming at you, ripping through your chest, twisting your stomach into knots, begging you not to move forward. And yet you do. You go anyway. Because sometimes what we want to believe overpowers what we know. I wanted to believe he was different. The first time I met him, it wasn't anything special. Just one of those casual introductions through a friend of a friend. He had that kind of lazy charm that doesn't come off too strong, just enough to make you curious. He smiled like he had secrets, and I guess I was the kind of girl who wanted to be the one he told them to. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't brag. That's what made it worse, I think. Because he didn't need to. He was quiet confidence. Still waters. You know the rest. He watched people more than he spoke. And he watched me. I remember the first time he really looked at me, not the polite glances or small talk, but looked like he was reading a book only he knew the ending to. I felt seen. And God, that was all I wanted. So when he asked me to come over one night, just to hang out, nothing serious, I hesitated for maybe a second. One tiny second. But I still said yes. It was a Thursday. Cold. The kind of cold that gets into your bones and stays there. I remember that clearly. I told myself it would be fine. I told myself I'd leave early. I wish I hadn't gone. I remember the front door. It was this old wooden thing, with chipped paint and a faint creak. The kind of detail you wouldn't usually notice, but now, it echoes in my mind like a warning bell I ignored. He opened the door with that same half-smile and stepped aside, letting me walk in first. His house was dim. Not dirty, not messy, just dim. Like the shadows had their own lives and didn't need permission to linger in the corners. There were no family pictures.
No wodems.
No signs of life, really, except for the low hum of music that I couldn't quite place. The air felt thick, like it hadn't been aired out in a while, like it was holding its breath. He offered me a drink. Just a beer, he said, casual. I took it, even though I didn't want it. I laughed at something he said, even though I didn't think it was funny. I sat on the edge of his couch, my legs crossed tightly, my hands gripping the bottle just a little too hard. I should have trusted that tension. I should have listened to my own body. We talked. Small talk at first, then deeper. He asked me questions that felt personal. Intimate. Not inappropriate, no, he was smarter than that, but probing. About my past. My fears. My relationships. I remember how his eyes didn't leave my face. How he leaned in just enough to make me feel like we were the only two people in the world. It was intoxicating. And terrifying. At some point, I realized I didn't know where my phone was. I had set it down somewhere, maybe when I walked in. I asked him, jokingly, did I lose my lifeline? He smiled. You won't need it here, he said. That's when something inside me jolted.
Still I stayed.
Why did I stay? Maybe because I didn't want to seem rude. Maybe because I didn't want to overreact. God, we're taught that, aren't we?
Taught to be polite.
To not make waves. To give people the benefit of the doubt, even when something deep in us is screaming, get out. He started asking about my ex. I brushed it off. He pushed. I laughed awkwardly. He didn't. His tone shifted. Just slightly. Enough to make me sit up straighter. Do you still talk to him? He asked. No, I said quickly. Good, he said. His eyes narrowed. I don't like when people aren't over things. I swallowed. Nodded. He stood up and walked over to the window, pulling the curtains closed. I didn't realize they were even open. He locked the front door, then sat down again, closer this time. Too close. I moved back, just a little. He noticed. You don't trust me? He asked. And here's the part that still haunts me. I lied. I said, of course I do, because I was afraid of what would happen if I told the truth. That's the thing no one tells you about fear. It's not always screaming and running and fight or flight. Sometimes it's freezing. Sometimes it's nodding when you want to shake your head, smiling when you want to cry, staying when every cell in your body is telling you to go. He put his hand on my knee. Just rested it there. Like it was nothing. Like it didn't feel like a brand searing through my jeans. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. He leaned in and whispered something I didn't fully hear.
I think I didn't want to.
My heart was pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. I made some excuse. Said I had an early morning. Stood up. Too quickly. My knees wobbled. He looked at me, his face blank. You're not staying? He asked.
There was no smile this time.
Just that stillness. That dangerous stillness. I shook my head.
He didn't argue.
He just watched me walk to the door. Watched me fumble with the lock. I found my phone on the kitchen counter. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. As I stepped out onto the porch, the cold air hit me like a slap. I didn't look back. I couldn't. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with all the lights on, the TV blaring, my phone clutched in my hand. Nothing had happened.
Technically, nothing I could point to.
Nothing I could report. But something had happened. Something had been wrong. Deeply wrong. I still regret going to his house. Not because of what he did, but because of what I let myself ignore. I regret doubting myself. I regret swallowing my fear to make someone else comfortable. I regret not trusting my intuition, that deep, primal knowledge that something was off. And maybe you're sitting there thinking I'm overreacting, that I was safe, that nothing happened. But you weren't there. You didn't feel the shift in the air. You didn't see the way his smile dropped when I said no. You didn't hear the way the door clicked shut behind me, like a warning, like a promise. He never contacted me again. Never texted. Never called. Just disappeared. Vanished back into the shadows he came from. And yet he's stayed with me. In flashes. In dreams. In the quiet moments when I question everything. I think about how close I came to something I can't even name. How thin the line is between safe and not. Between normal and nightmare. I think about the other girls who maybe weren't as lucky. I think about how many of us have stories like this. Stories that don't have bruises or scars but leave us shattered anyway. I think about how we learn to silence ourselves. To downplay danger. To say, it wasn't that bad, because we don't want to make a fuss. But it was that bad. And I wish I had listened. I wish I had left sooner. I wish I had never gone. It took me a long time to stop blaming myself. A long time to say out loud that fear is valid even when it isn't proven. That discomfort is enough. That intuition isn't imaginary. I tell this story not because I want pity, not because I want attention, but because maybe someone else needs to hear it. Maybe someone else is standing on the edge of a choice, heart pounding, hands shaking, gut screaming. Maybe someone else is about to step into a house that feels wrong. And maybe, just maybe, my regret can be their warning. Because the cost of ignoring yourself is high. And sometimes, the only thing standing between you and something irreversible is one choice. One step. I stepped into his house. And I still regret it.